The family of late anti-apartheid activist Aziz Pahad has described him as a patriot who dedicated his life to the country. The 82-year-old who died yesterday served as Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister under former Presidents Nelson Mandela and Thabo Mbeki. He was the younger brother of Essop Pahad, who passed away in July. Pahad also served on the ANC's NEC from 1985 to 2007. In the 60s, he was banned from public meetings and gatherings, an order he often violated several times, resulting in short detentions. After the Rivonia trial, he went into exile in London, developing the anti-apartheid movement in the UK. He documented his political life in his memoir entitled The Insurgent Diplomat. Pahad is survived by his wife, brother, children and granddaughter. The family says funeral arrangements will be communicated in due course. Now, the ANC has paid tribute to the veteran politician. The party says Pahad's passing is a huge loss, especially for the younger generation.
We are obviously broken by it as the governing party and as a liberation movement, and as the younger ones that looked up to, persons and stalwarts of the caliber of Aziz Pahad. And I was just going back to his book when I received the news from the family. His book, The Insurgent Diplomat, and where he says that I wrote my book so that the youth of today can realize what sacrifices went into the struggle.
Well, let's bring in the family spokesperson this morning, Dr Fazel Randera. It's good to talk to you, and our condolences to you and your family. Where do we begin to remember the life of someone like Aziz Pahad?
Well, his life has been remarkable in that sense, Michelle, that it really starts as a youth Congress member in the early 50s, when both him and you mentioned his brother, Essop Pahad, joined the Transvaal Indian Congress, and subsequent to that, his encounter with Thabo Mbeki, who would come to Johannesburg from the Eastern Cape, and that relationship has lasted throughout the decades since then, because they of course then subsequently met in London. They were fellow students at Sussex University. They went on to serve in the ANC Youth Congress in exile, and of course Aziz and Essop and the former President Thabo Mbeki continually kept in contact throughout the 70s and 80s as they continued to struggle in exile for the freedom that we enjoy today. Aziz will of course be remembered for the role that he played with former President Thabo Mbeki in initiating the discussions with the then apartheid government, and which then resulted in the release of the leadership from Robben Island and the negotiations that took place in the 90s. He became a member of parliament. He was then appointed as Deputy Minister of International Affairs, and we know his experience in international affairs, both in exile and in the post-1994 period, significantly resulted in South Africa's position on non-alignment, which still stands today.
Yeah.
It's really sad that in the last 6 months, illness has prevented him from continuing to play a role. But in the discussions that we had with him, he was always alert and totally committed to South Africa and the ANC.
Yeah, and in fact, former President Thabo Mbeki writing the foreword in his memoir, right, describing Aziz Pahad as humane and with a sunny disposition and a common touch. We know that they had a deep sense of friendship and comradeship throughout the years. And fair to say as well, Dr. Randera, that political activism ran firmly in the blood of the Pahad family.
Totally, you know, from his parents who started life when they came from India in a small town called Newzroom Afrika, and they then moved to Johannesburg to Back to Street, which were in a flat which was frequented by many leaders of the ANC and the Indian Nationalists, and of course the Communist Party, and even President Mandela commends and talks about the warmness of Aziz's mother, who participated in the women's marches in the 50s. His father, of course, was arrested on several occasions before he went into exile. So, as you quite rightly said, the political blood ran in that family.
Yeah, absolutely. And perhaps one of the most telling things about Aziz Pahad was how often he defied his banning orders in the 1960s and how often that landed him in jail.
Well, that early part of their history and his history needs to be written about, but Aziz and Essop totally committed themselves once they went into exile to ensuring that South Africa does not fall off the agenda of the world and South Africa. They played their role within the exiled ANC movement and continued as leaders in that movement right up to the time of their return.
Dr. Fazel Randera, let me thank you for your time this morning, the family spokesperson there after the passing of Aziz Pahad. And once again, our condolences to you and your family. We're told that funeral arrangements will be communicated soon.